I am making a sauteed Greek style shrimp that my son taught me this recipe about. And the best part is, Jacqueline, I know you're going to love it, we're using cauliflower rice. So it's going to be a lot lighter, low carbohydrate, but lots of flavor as we add wine and shrimp and fresh tomatoes, basil and mint. And I'll show you how to make your own cauliflower rice. You're going to love it. Stay with me. I'll be back in a few minutes to start cooking. Well, as promised, I'm going to walk you through cauliflower rice. So easy. One head of cauliflower will yield this large bowl. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to cut your cauliflower into small pieces, and you're going to just put it in your food processor with the grater side. The grater will grind it all up, and then you get this really fluffy consistency. Now I'm only going to need half for this, and I'm going to put it in a pan with a little canola oil. Olive oil is going to be a little bit too much for it. I'm going to save the other half of the rice for another day. Probably 2 days from now I'll make some Chinese fried rice, and I will put that recipe up on my suncoast.com as an extra little thing that you'll have. So we'll start to saute that. Let's give it a little flavoring with some salt and pepper. Not too much because we're going to have a highly seasoned dish, okay? So just a little bit. I also have the basil rosemary salt, which I love from the Spice and Tea Exchange. So we'll give that a little time to warm up. You don't need to brown it, you just want to heat it up. Now over in this pan, we're going to add some fresh garlic, and please always use fresh. It diminishes the flavor if you buy it in a jar. And shallots. I love the flavor of shallots, so I'm going to add a little bit extra because I just want to have a really nice bite to it. It's not as intense as an onion, but it gives it great flavor. So we need to saute this for probably about, I'd say about 3 minutes. And we'll start layering the flavor. A little more, the basil, rosemary salt, and it's a nice coarse salt. You always want to cook with a coarse salt. I just keep the iodized salt in the cabinet for baking. That makes it easier. That's when you really want it. So we'll just keep that going like that. You can always add about a 1/4 cup of chicken stock if you want to moisten the rice as well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add some sliced grape tomatoes. You can use whole tomatoes and dice them as well, but we're going to make a sauce out of this, so we really want this to reduce. I'm going to simmer this for probably about 4 minutes, and then when we come back, we'll be ready to deglaze with the white wine, add just a little butter to it, and really give this dish some good flavor. So don't go anywhere. We're making Greek sauteed shrimp on cauliflower rice in just a few minutes. So we've sauteed the tomatoes, the shallots, the garlic. Now I'm going to add some wine, about 3/4 cup of a medium-bodied white wine. You don't want it too sweet. And we're going to reduce this by half. While it starts to reduce, we're going to go ahead and add some fresh basil and the shrimp. Now I'm using pre-cooked shrimp. You can buy it in the bag for about 23 bucks. And it really is just so convenient, especially in a weeknight when you get home and you're tired. You can see this dish doesn't take long, especially if you buy the cauliflower already grated or you grate it the day before. Now as this starts to reduce, let's add the feta cheese. And don't buy the crumbled, buy the full block and then cut it up yourself because it's going to have a lot more flavor. Every time you do something ahead of time, you cut something, what's going to happen is it loses some of its flavor. So let's jack this heat up just a little bit so we can get it to reduce. But you can see how colorful, how light. Now we're going to add some zest of lemon, and then I'm going to add the juice of 1 whole lemon. So let's give this a cut. The rice is already out of the pan, so that's going to be in the base of the bowl. So we'll go ahead and give this a squeeze. Another way to get extra lemon juice out is just drop the lemon right into the pan and let that simmer just a little bit as everything else is simmering down. Last, in about the last probably minute, we're going to add some minced shallots, and I mean minced, really small. Remember when we're done to pull the lemon out and then a little taste. Oh wow. This is just the salt from the feta cheese. It's just melting down into the tomatoes. Another few minutes, and this is just going to reduce beautifully. So again, I'm going to put the heat up just for a little bit while it's reducing. Then I'm going to pour it right on top of the cauliflower rice. And we have dinner as this feta cheese melts so easily. Whether you want to put it on the pasta or the cauliflower rice is totally up to you, but I would just take a spoon even and enjoy this. Make sure you serve it with some toasted bread or something that you can get all the sauce up with. When we come back, it's time to feed Scalzi, so don't go anywhere.
Mmm. That's delicious.
Like that?
That's really good.
Good. You know, and you can even cook the tomatoes down a little bit. Now, one thing I did at the very end before I put it in the bowl with the cauliflower rice was to add 2 pats of butter. So, a tablespoon or 2, and that just kind of gives it a little more depth. The more you cook the tomatoes down and mash them up, the darker your sauce will get. But either way, it just ends up being a really delicious dish,
meal.
right?
And I love the cauliflower rice, you know. I mean, you could eat a whole bucket of cauliflower rice and have what, maybe 100 calories?
I know,
maybe.
that's what's great, is do more of the rice than the actual shrimp and sauce. And like I said, I have a half a bowl left. I'm going to make Chinese-style fried cauliflower rice tomorrow.
There you go. The recipe's on our website, mysuncoast.com. Click on the dining button. It takes you right there with Chef Judy's instructions. I'm serious. Really, really good.
Thanks,
Recommend it.
John.